Hello, 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 and welcome to this edition of the Jolly Heretic. Now, there's been a very interesting development in terms of the well-known anti-freedom group Hope Not Hate. As you may know, a year ago there was a documentary on Channel 4 that was based around the undercover research of Hope Not Hate, and specifically a chap by the name of Harold Schuckman, who was posing as Christopher Morton and infiltrated a number of far-right groups, things like groups of friends that like to be up and have a laugh, or indeed a research group on intelligence and genetics and so forth, in which I'm vaguely involved. And they did a sort of a documentary about it, and the guy that was the undercover, the mole, wrote a book about it called Year of the Rat. Appropriate. There's some self-awareness. Now we have an apology to him, or to Hope Not Hate, published in the Spectator, and it's very interesting if you read between the lines. That's what I want to look at today. But before I do that, could you please subscribe? Could you subscribe on YouTube? Could you hit the like button, hit the bell button, leave a comment, that kind of thing? It really helps if you do that. And could you subscribe to my Substack? That's jollyheretic.com, where I put all those base stuff that I can't put on YouTube because of Hope Not Hate. Interesting interviews, vlogs, blogs, films I make, and if you like what I do, you can talk with the cost of just a pint of beer a month. Okay, back to the video. So first of all, what happened? Well, from my personal perspective, I was at a conference called Scanza in Tallinn in May 2023, when a very sort of thin, low in muscle, low testosterone man comes up to me and says, could he have a selfie? And then he asks how many people I think were killed in the Holocaust. And I thought, either you're a nutter, and alas, we do get quite a lot of people like that at events of that kind, or you're an undercover spy. And I was and I said I think it's the amount that was agreed by the prosecution and the defence in the Irving v. Lipstadt trial in the year 2000, which was not the response that he wanted. He then continued coming to my events, but I was always very wary of him because I was concerned that he was a spy and told people this. And he, nevertheless, he was believed by those with whom I was associating, and in the end, he got the information he wanted for his undercover documentary. But I was when it all hit him that we'd been filmed covertly and so forth, or I had anyway, in Estonia, on a particular Zoom call that I was on at a conference that I did, a meet and greet thing in London, and at a private event in Barnes, where there was also Katie Hopkins. I wasn't concerned really that it would be a personal problem for me or anything I'd said, because I was very, very careful always about what I said around him. Others, of course, were not so. And it turned out that this Harold Schuckman chap was a young Cambridge graduate in a international, some sort of James Bond degree, that his father worked for the BBC, and that he had literally had family connections to MI5. So that's who we're dealing with, and you can see an article about him on my Substack. Now, eventually, people were so appalled by this, they started looking into it, and he'd given us a passport as evidence of who he was. Well, not me, but he'd given other people a passport as evidence of who he was. And the moment after it all emerged that he was an undercover spy, I checked that passport against the available public records. A lot of people don't seem to know this, but birth, marriage and death records in this country are public, and anyone can check them for free in the basic form online. And for 12 quid they can buy the full certificates. I don't know why people don't know this, but I've been doing genealogy since I was 13, and I do know this. And I will check anybody that I deal with, anything they say, if I feel like it, against these public records. And this has often revealed some quite interesting things. Always check passports that people give you as a form of proof against the genealogical records. And if someone had done that, then they would have realised that something was going on, because there was no Christopher Morton born in Plowley in Oxfordshire in 1992. So either it's a fake passport, or he's changed his name by deed poll so that he can successfully infiltrate an organisation without people knowing who he is. That's it. And Now, groups that are that are based, because I've told them to do this. They check passports against the public records, and you always should. And a group called the Restorationists then looked in detail into this and argued that there were problems with the passport and so on. And then the Spectator published an article arguing that it was conceivable that Hope Not Hate had broken the law, that they had used a fake passport due to their contacts with MI5, and they clearly have contacts with MI5. Now, what we have here in the Spectator yesterday, that is the 4th of December, is an apology, but it's a weird kind of apology, because normally with an apology you just make your prominent apology on because you've been told to by your lawyers, and that's the end of it. But not here. Have a look at this. The Spectator, an apology to Hope Not Hate and Harry Shukman by John Power. In August, The Spectator began to investigate allegations that Harry Shukman, a 33-year-old freelance journalist, had faked a British passport as part of a 2-year undercover investigation into the far right in Britain, which was sponsored by Hope Not Hate. We published an article on this in the 6th of September issue titled Dirty Tricks, the Sinister Tactics of Hope Not Hate. As a result of our correspondence from their lawyers, we now know the passport was not fake at all. The true story is even more interesting. So it's like they're doing it because the lawyers are telling them to, but they're also using it as an excuse to further examine and needle and reveal the truth behind this mendacious organisation. And he explains that there was an investigation led to a series of articles in The Guardian, a documentary on Channel 4, and a book by Penguin, Year of the Rat, published in May. Targets included Paul Golding of Britain First, former special advisors and American citizens who have advocated for policies to encourage higher fertility. That is the Collinses, who were given the passport as ID. During our investigation, we acquired emails using an image of a passport with which Shukman sent to us, to Shukman's face and details Christopher Morton, and he had used this to gain the trust of people and to record conversations. It is our belief this constitutes evidence that the Shukman had either obtained and used a fake passport. They say they've looked into the passport and the passport is not fake. Now, of course, one immediate point one might make is that Michael Gove, who is the editor of The Spectator, has been pressured by MI5, and that in reality it is a fake passport and he's just been pressured to do this. The counter-argument, it's perfectly possible I suppose, but the counter-argument is that seems rather complicated and unnecessary, and more would come out and so on. So maybe it genuinely is not what happened. So they've looked into it, and what it turns out is that he changed his name to Christopher Morton in order to get the passport, and then changed it back by deed poll a year later. And I was talking to someone who has changed their name by deed poll, and it really is very easy to do. This means that Shukman and Hope Not Hate did not create a fake passport, blah blah blah, accuracy and so on. Now this is where it gets interesting. They say, however, the clarification did reveal that Shukman used the deed poll process to obtain a second identity for the purpose of deception. And that's clearly true, because of course he was going around saying that he was interested in the far right and so on, and that he was a donor even and would give money to them. Shukman's lawyers claim that in the first deed poll he fully and formally adopted the name Christopher Morton for all purposes. It is a legal requirement for those who use deed polls to do so and to renounce absolutely their previous identity. Yet during the period in which Shukman was supposedly acting solely under his new name, he published 3 separate articles bylined with his original name for the Gentleman's Journal. Moreover, the book states that he continued to use his real email address during the investigation. At one point, he even joined a video call using it, nearly revealing the deception. So this is, of course, proving that in reality and in everyday life, he's going around still being Harry Shukman. Of course he is. He has not renounced his name. And by law, if you change your name by deed poll, you must utterly renounce the original identity and you must use the new name for all purposes. He evidently wasn't doing this. There's also no evidence, by the way, that his name was changed at Company's House. So he wasn't doing this. He just changed his name in order to deceive people and to be a mole, although a rather obvious one, and then changed it back a year later. In truth, we consider that Shukman did not intend to adopt a new identity, nor abandon his old identity fully and formally at all. It seems apparent to us, not least from the use of a second deed poll to change his name back to Harry Shukman, because why would you do that? I mean, they should probably have laws saying that if you change your name, you can't change it back for 30 years or something like that. That he used Christopher Morton as a pseudonym, which he then leveraged to obtain a genuine passport from UKPO. Whatever the technicalities of the process, the essential question is an ethical one. Well, it shouldn't have to be. The practice raises serious questions about the ability of the UK Passport Office to prevent use and abuse of the deed poll procedure to allow individuals to get British passports under pseudonyms. And obviously, given how easy it is to circumvent identity rules using it, you could do this if you were a terrorist. So, that's it. It seems very clear. These lawyers said that it was an oversight that he used his original name on these articles, but then he changed his name back. So it becomes a matter of intent. It becomes a matter of what a jury, or if the laws that they're proposing are to go through, what a judge would believe. And it seems to me it's perfectly obvious that he changed his name in order to deceive, because otherwise why would you change it back only a year later? Otherwise, why would you carry on using the name, using your original email address rather than change the email address? Why would your name come up, your real name, on a Zoom call at something that you admit to? And why would you clearly and evidently do this in order to do undercover, covert research into your political opponents? So it's obvious that he's broken the law and should be prosecuted for that. But the problem is that Britain, because of people like Hope Not Hate and the feminising, IQ-destroying policies they promote, because of that, the police are now so corrupt and so overwhelmed by crime that I was told by a friend of mine who spoke to his sister, and whose sister is a police officer, that if you went to a police station in the UK and reported that, they'd probably just laugh at you. They wouldn't consider that serious enough to even file as a crime. And the Crown Prosecution Service would be so overwhelmed by all kinds of other important crimes to prosecute, such as people using offensive words about homosexuals in private WhatsApp groups, or people putting out tweets that hurt people's feelings, because that's what happens in a society where we've got this far down the road of decadence. That it wouldn't get off the ground. They wouldn't be prosecuted. It just wouldn't happen. So therefore, they have got away with a crime, with impunity. You have a group that is able to break the law with impunity, and no one can do anything about it, short of mounting an expensive private prosecution. For what? The law that he has broken is not that serious. He'd probably just get a slap on the wrist anyway, after you had put in all this money to bring about a private prosecution and have him found guilty. But yet it's very serious, and it has serious consequences for the ability of people to freely associate without being spied on and being outed in a woke environment and being cancelled and having their careers destroyed. It has serious consequences just for people's privacy. The idea that you can be at an event minding your own business and you can be covertly filmed by somebody. It has a chilling effect on freedom of expression, even in private, because there is always which is not against the law, because there's always the possibility that there can be some spy like that, some rat who is filming you and will reveal the information. And we know we live in an anti-free speech, woke semi-tyranny, which is enforced by the Karen class, by the lanyard class. And so we daren't express our opinions or meet with people who agree with our opinions, even in private. And this group can ensure that we can't do that by breaking the law, and yet they are effectively above the law because the law they're breaking is relatively minor, and anyway their policies have ensured that the police are corrupt and the police are focused on thought crimes and people's feelings and all this kind of thing. That is how terrible the situation is. That's how appalling it is. And that's what the Spectator has highlighted. They are laughing at us. We are impotent to do anything about their breaking of the law, precisely because of the corrupt, feelings-focused, insane system which they are helping to bring about. It would require some kind of revolution to overturn and deal with such people, to properly prosecute and punish such people. That's where we are. So it's both, I suppose, a white pill that the Spectator, which is a prominent magazine run by a former cabinet minister, has realised the significance of this. It is perhaps a testimony to the balkanization of society, that society is sort of breaking up and different groups within it no longer have any fundamental starting point, any fundamental vantage point that they agree on. They don't, because groups like Copenhagen don't even agree in things like the importance of truth and the importance of honesty. They are that Machiavellian, that vicious. They think that they have their view and it can be pursued no matter what. Utterly Machiavellian. Putting something above truth, and those that actually kind of do believe in the truth. It's a breakup of society, but that's also the black pill. There's very little at the moment that can be done about it. I only hope that something will be done about it. So if you're watching this, I will leave a link to the Spectator article in the underneath. Let's mass report this crime, chaps. Thanks a lot. I hope this is of interest. I will see you soon, and goodbye.
Are you ready for the future of the West?